The world was shocked when Hollywood star Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were found dead in their Santa Fe home, weeks after they had passed. As police dug deeper, they discovered strange signs suggesting that someone knew about their deaths before anyone else. Hackman's daughter, Leslie, became the center of attention. Was she involved in something far more sinister than anyone had imagined? What was she hiding, and how far did she go to cover up the truth? The answers might shock you. The death that shocked Hollywood. There was silence in the house. The door was barely open. Mail had piled up outside for weeks, untouched. A concerned neighbor finally called the cops. When officers arrived to check on the situation, they expected something routine. Instead, they found something chilling. Gene Hackman's body was near the kitchen, slouched over unnaturally. His sunglasses lay beside him, as if they had just fallen from his hands. Betsy Arakawa's body was discovered in the bathroom, surrounded by pills scattered across the counter. The sink's water had dried out, leaving behind a thin film. There was no blood, no signs of forced entry, and no struggle. 2 healthy dogs roamed the house, but one was found dead in its crate. The real shock came when authorities realized the couple had been dead for weeks. The air was stale, food sat rotting on the counters, and time seemed to have stopped inside the house. The police had one disturbing question left to ask. How did a Hollywood star and his wife go unnoticed for so long? A digital trail unfolds. A breakthrough came from an unexpected place, Hackman's pacemaker. Investigators checked the device's data, revealing his last moments. It suggested he died on February 17th. That meant the house had been eerily quiet for at least 9 days. There were no calls for help, no visitors, nothing. But something didn't add up. If Hackman had died first, why was Betsy in a different room? Why hadn't she called for help? The door was slightly ajar when police arrived. Had someone been there before them? Lab reports ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning, overdose, or any clear cause of death. Then came another twist. Hackman's house had been watched for weeks before his death. Security cameras detected unusual activity. Phone records revealed strange patterns, and GPS tracking hinted at a secret observer. Someone knew what had happened before the police arrived. A suspicious connection. The digital trail led to an unexpected person, Leslie and Hackman, Gene's daughter. As the investigation shifted focus, inconsistencies surfaced. Leslie claimed to have spoken to her father weeks before his death, but phone records told a different story. Financial transactions linked to her raised more suspicion. Documents related to Gene's estate had been altered before his death was even confirmed. Someone had tried to access his money prematurely. Was his death an accident, or had someone planned all along? The timeline of death. Investigators turned to Hackman's pacemaker data, which recorded his final movement. From that moment forward, there were no signs of life, no phone activity, no bank transactions. He had simply vanished. Then, security cameras caught something eerie. A shadow near the door. A car parked outside for hours. Motion sensors inside detected activity at odd hours, but the front door was never opened. Someone had been watching, but from where? His home security logs showed something disturbing. Before his death, the doorbell had been turned off multiple times. No forced entry, no emergency calls, but something fell off. Hackman followed a strict daily routine, walking his dogs, checking his mail, paying bills. Then, one day, everything stopped. As detectives combed through digital footprints, they found his last web searches, his final messages. Each one cut off abruptly. Then, another clue. A suspicious phone signal near Hackman's home on the night his pacemaker recorded its last beat. The number was unregistered, bouncing between cell towers to obscure its origin. Someone was there that night. Someone knew what had happened. Betsy should have called for help, but she hadn't. Why? Her bank records showed a single, seemingly insignificant transaction on February 16th, the last trace of life before silence fell over the house. The real question remained. Who had been watching them? The daughter's involvement. At first, Leslie and Hackman wasn't a prime suspect. But the surveillance footage, pacemaker data, and financial discrepancies changed everything. She claimed she had spoken to her father recently, but the phone logs proved otherwise. Investigators found she had been discussing her father's fortune before his death was publicly known. Legal documents had been altered, raising questions about the timeline. If these changes had been made before February 17th, it wasn't just a coincidence, it was premeditated. When confronted, Leslie became defensive. She couldn't explain the missing phone calls or the suspicious transactions. Then, an alarming detail surfaced. On the very day Hackman's pacemaker recorded its last beat, his financial records were being accessed. Yet, officially, no one even knew he was dead. Why was someone already moving around his assets? The walls were closing in. Was she preparing for something before it even happened? Hackman's death was no longer just a mystery. It was a case of fraud, deception, and possibly something far worse. The autopsy and toxicology reports. When the autopsy results arrived, they raised even more questions. Hackman's body showed no signs of trauma, no bruises, no broken bones, no defensive wounds. The same was true for Betsy. There was no carbon monoxide poisoning, no overdose, no clear cause of death. But something didn't add up. If it wasn't a natural death, and there were no signs of foul play, what had really happened? The case had taken a dark turn, and the truth was about to come out. A secret was waiting to be uncovered, and once it was known, there would be no turning back. A mysterious death. Authorities checked for any possible leaks, but there were no signs of anything that could have killed the couple quietly. With environmental poisoning ruled out, investigators faced a new question. What had killed them? Toxicity reports followed. No pills, no barbiturates, no signs of an overdose. On paper, their systems were clean. But then, something strange surfaced. Some medicines that should have been in the house were missing. Gene Hackman had a history of heart problems and had been on medication. Yet, police found no prescriptions in the house. It wasn't just a case of misplaced bottles. If he had run out, there should have been records of refills. If he had stopped taking them, there should have been leftover pills. But there were none. Someone had deliberately removed them. Investigators began considering a chilling possibility. What if Hackman's death wasn't an accident, but a calculated move? If someone had ensured he never got his medication, it was as lethal as any attack. The autopsy confirmed it. A lack of medical intervention could have led to his slow, inevitable decline. Then came another question. What about Betsy? If she was having a medical emergency, why hadn't she taken her pills? Why didn't she ask for help? Was she too weak, or was someone preventing her? The missing medicine changed everything. It suggested intent. This wasn't just a tragic accident. It was a plan. The estate battle and legal drama. Almost immediately, a battle over Gene Hackman's estate erupted. His wealth, built over decades in Hollywood, was now tangled in lawsuits. Even before his death, investigators had flagged suspicious activity regarding his assets. But the real shock came when they examined his will. There were missing pages, altered details, and suspicious changes. Before Hackman was even declared dead, someone had been tampering with his estate documents. And all trails led back to one name, Leslie Hackman. She had been inquiring about her father's money long before his body was found. Her lawyers admitted she had tried to modify the estate plans, but legally, she wasn't allowed to. However, records showed that someone had been preparing for this wealth transfer for some time. The will had been reviewed and changed while Hackman was still missing. The question loomed, had Leslie been planning, or did she already know her father was dead? Legal experts debated. Some claimed she was simply securing her inheritance. Others saw clear signs of fraud. If she had been preparing for her father's death, what else had she prepared for? As missing pages, financial discrepancies, and inheritance claims surfaced, prosecutors built a case. This wasn't just about estate rights. It was about deception, greed, and how far someone would go for wealth. Leslie Hackman was about to face a verdict she never expected. 24-hour surveillance uncovers the truth. Investigators turned their full attention to Leslie and too many red flags had surfaced. The police launched round-the-clock surveillance. Every move she made, every email, phone call, and transaction was monitored. What they found was disturbing. Her bank records told a story she hadn't shared. Transactions were flagged. Funds moved between accounts. Small withdrawals to avoid detection. Financial shifts that started before Gene Hackman was even declared dead. Investigators intercepted private emails. Leslie had been discussing estate matters long before the public knew her father had died. On paper, He was still alive while she negotiated inheritance details. It was as if she had been preparing for something she already knew would happen. Phone records added to the evidence. She had spoken to financial experts, moved assets, and pushed legal proceedings forward, all while everyone else believed Hackman was still alive. The timing made one thing clear. She was acting as if her father was already gone. Then came the most damning discovery. A forensic audit revealed large sums of money had been funneled into private and offshore accounts. Leslie and had been shifting money long before she had legal access to it. At this point, it was no longer speculation. Surveillance footage, financial records, and legal investigations all pointed in the same direction. This wasn't just a grieving daughter managing her father's